Hi guys, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV. Well, really pleased to welcome two guests today. Obviously, Ray's on our channel, but we've got Karl, and some of you viewers will not have met Karl before. So, Karl, just want to quickly tell the viewers who you are and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Karl. I live in the States. I'm a Man City fan. I've been following them for about 12, 13 years now. I love the Blues. The reason I follow Man City was all my friends follow other clubs, right? Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal. And I didn't want to be follow the bandwagon. So I said, look, let me see what's out there. Who's passionate? Who could be a competitor? And it was Man City. So I've been following them for about 12, 13 years now.
Brilliant. Well, I know
the money.
Just before the money came in.
Brilliant. You do know you'll get accused of just following City since
I have
2008.
I have no problem with it at all, man. No problem with it at all.
Well, listen, what this is for everybody, this is going to be our season review. And what I did was I asked the guys some questions. And we're going to go, I'll just quickly go through the format. We're going to go through the best games that you've watched, whether that be live or on TV, it makes no difference. We're going to talk about pivotal moments in the season. We're then going to do a quick review of the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, and the League Cup. We're going to look at player ratings, and we'll give our own personal opinion on each player. We'll look at the player of the season, though I've got a feeling that might be more simple than some of the others. We'll look at what we thought was the goal of the season. We'll talk about Pep Guardiola as well, and then we might just finish off with ins and outs. Just a very, very quick, because we're going to do a transfer video next week, but just an opinion as it stands at this moment. Who do we think might go out and who do we think might come in? So we're going to kick it off, and actually, Karl, you when you sent me your answers, you said I want to refer to it as a tennis analogy.
Yeah.
So just quickly, very quickly, just you put on here: City equals Federer and Liverpool equals Djokovic. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, so what I meant was that if you watch tennis, the way Djokovic plays is all power, and Federer is more style, skill, finesse, power. It's a combination of everything. And the way Man City play is we play high power, we can play finesse, we can stroke the ball around. It's easy to watch. It's beautiful. And Djokovic is a great tennis player, but comparing Federer and Djokovic depends on your choice. I just prefer Federer as a player, and I prefer Man City as the way they play.
Brilliant. Well, we were talking about, the first question was the best games. So, Ray, you picked three. You picked City versus Liverpool 2-1, Brighton 4-1, and City 6-0 against Watford. I'm assuming that was obviously the FA Cup final. Yeah. Very quickly, why were they the best games this season for you?
Well, the Liverpool game, we were there. It was an incredible atmosphere, an incredible game, end-to-end stuff. Lots of chances, lots of brilliant plays, some mistakes. It was a pivotal game because had we lost, we'd have been 10 points behind. And in all reality, I think the season would have been over in terms of chasing the Premier League title. We had to win the game, and the fans never let up from from before the game all the way through the game. 2 minutes after Liverpool scored, we were a bit quiet, which is normal. But after that, for the rest of the game, we were at it, the fans. The players responded. Grit and determination, we showed that in bundles. We got through that game. We got the win. And that, I think that made our season get ready. Being 4 points behind rather than 10. Huge difference, and I'll be honest, I don't think we'd have pulled 10 points back. So for me, that was hugely pivotal.
That was obviously the 3rd of January, that game. When
that date is etched in my mind.
It is in mine as well. Yeah,
I can only tell you 2 dates of games, and that's one of them.
Yeah, Obviously, the 4-1 win against Brighton speaks for itself, and obviously the FA Cup win 6-0. Karl, you picked numerous ones, but I'm going to just very quickly go through them. If you can just pick out the best one for you, Man City versus Huddersfield, due to Edison's first assist. Goal for Aguero 6-1. Liverpool versus City Anfield in possession defensive masterclass. City versus United 44 passes for the third goal. City versus Liverpool 2-1, best game of the seasons. The fans, which Ray just mentioned, was his. City versus Chelsea 6-0, the demolition of Chelsea after beating Arsenal 3-0. And Everton 2-0 away in the same week. 3 big games in 1 week. So out of those, how can you sum up?
I think it has to be the same as Ray. It has to be the Man City versus Liverpool at home, the 2-1. I think it was a critical game. If we lost that game, it's game over, unless Liverpool collapsed. But yeah, it has to be that one.
It was electrifying. I must admit, we were there, and it was.
Yeah, we heard you guys from 3,000 miles away, man.
Yeah, it was an incredible atmosphere. It really was. I'm trying to think. I'll go slightly off track here, and I won't say it's any of those. I'll go the best game I saw at the Etihad this season was actually when we went out of the Champions League to Spurs. That game that night was, for me, it was just balmy, absolutely balmy. You know, even though we won, we went out the Champions League. I walked out the stadium just thinking, what have I just witnessed? It was just such an incredible game. Even though we lost and we knew we went out the Champions League, it was just such a brilliant, brilliant game to watch, certainly live. So moving on, pivotal moments. So I'm going to come back to you, Karl, first. You've selected sort of 4 here. You said Mahrez's penalty miss at Anfield. You said a loss to Newcastle drove the 14-game winning run to perfection. Win versus Tottenham at home 1-0 after disappointing exit to them 2 days before in the Champions League. The game I said was probably the best footballing game I've seen this season. And the win versus Leicester in his goals. So can you sum those up?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, I think it has to be Leicester ultimately because of the nature of the win, the timing of the win, the importance of the win, and the fact that after that game we were relaxed. Really, the last game against Brighton, we knew that the team wasn't going to give up. So I would say the Leicester one is probably the pivotal moment of the game. Even though the Newcastle loss created the momentum for the 14 straight wins. Yeah. I mean, 14 straight wins. We're not talking about playing, League One or League Two. This is 14 straight wins in the Premier League, almost half a season. That is, so it's between those two. But I'll pick the Leicester one with Vinny scoring that fantastic goal.
Why did you pick out Mahrez? Because that was obviously
because when he missed that penalty, I told my wife, I said that moment may come back to haunt us. Because I felt that if you beat Liverpool at Anfield, it does 2 things. You get 3 points, you completely demolish any motivation that they have, demoralize them, and I think they would have fallen off. I think if we won that game, more than likely, we'd probably be 6 or 7 points ahead of them because it would have really, really hurt them early in the season. Kill them off and then keep winning. So that miss was significant. It should have been 3 points, not 1 point.
Yeah, it certainly was a big talking point, certainly, I think, with City fans all season. If we would have lost the league, I think that may have been one of the key points when people went, oh my God, if only we would have won that game, penalty, finish them. And I think you're right, we might have then gone on a run where, we may have won the league by 6, 7, 8 points potentially. Ray, you put Stone's clearance against Liverpool, the 11 millimeters, and you also said Aguero's goal versus Burnley, 28 millimeters. So we're talking in millimeters here. So why those 2?
I will just say one thing about that Liverpool game, that penalty miss from Mahrez. I'm disappointed because Mahrez cost us the 100 points. We'd have been Centurions again. Anyway, that's only a joke. But that 11 millimeters, I mean, that Stones, it showed you how desperate we were to put our bodies on the line, and most people would have just accepted that the ball was going to go in. But we fight to the end, and to drag it away by 11 millimeters is just incredible. And it kind of reminds me of, was it Messi scoring against Liverpool in the Champions League, where Virgil van Dijk had just given up. He just let Messi run, and then he just stood there watching him put the ball in. Stones didn't do that. Stones didn't just watch the ball. He put the effort in to get away. So that was another pivotal one, because you go behind against Liverpool, it's going to be tough to win the game. And we saw that game was a really tough game. To come from behind to win, that for me was a pivotal moment in a pivotal game. And the Aguero goal line technology. Without goal line technology, Stones' clearance might have been a goal, and Aguero's goal might have been a clearance.
Yeah.
And that makes all the difference. And I'm hoping that with more technology next season with VAR, that will help City a little bit more. We'd have got 100 points if Bowley hadn't handled the ball in against Wolves early in the season. And hopefully, the technology, Liverpool will lose a few points, or may not get as many penalties, or may get the bookings that some of their diving deserves. So, technology.
Okay, so good points. I mean, that certainly when I read through both Karl and yours pivotal moments, I just brought back memories of those games and thinking that I can't disagree with any of them. I just went to try and go do something different to what you guys, because I agree with your comments. I just thought that 10-day period when everybody, the media, were just incessant about the fact that we have got 3 big games coming up, and the chances are City are going to lose one of them. Right. And that was the Palace game on the 14th of April, followed by 6 days later, we had Spurs.
Yeah.
And then 4 days later, we went to Old Trafford. And that sort of 10-day period there, I think as City fans, we thought, Palace is going to be a tough game. Yeah. The Spurs game is going to be tough, and we've got to go to Old Trafford, and I just thought for us to come out of those 3 games with 9 points was just a turning point. And I think from that moment on, I think City fans thought we're on the home run now. It's in our hands. We if we were going to drop points and lose the league, it was going to be in one of these 3 games, and we didn't. We just went ahead and we were professional. And
yeah, I've got to say, there's one other moment that we've forgotten about for the time being. But I mean, Karl Walker, I think he put out a tweet after, was it Liverpool? We'd lost to Newcastle or something, and Liverpool, instead of winning their next game, they drew it.
Yeah.
So even though they were further ahead of us, it didn't feel like that. It felt they were closer to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was another important moment.
Yeah, I think it was, without a shadow of a doubt. Okay, so what we're going to move on to next is sort of like a Premier League, Champions League, FA, and League Cup review. Karl, you said a few points you put at the start of the season. I predicted whoever wins the battle of the Premier League top 6 would win the league. It's happened 2 seasons in a row, and that will be the predictor for next year. So you've also some stats here. I don't know whether you've got them in front of you, but I'll read them just in case. You've got 2018-2019 battle of the top 6. Man City won 26 points out of 30, an 87% win ratio from their top 6 peers. Liverpool won 19 out of 30, only 63% among the Premier League. There's no comparison. What do you think that was the key to it this season?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. I said it from day one of the season. Whoever wins the battle of the top 6 wins the league. Period. Because you don't need, with the gap that exists now between the top and the bottom, you expect them to win. So it all comes down to that top 6. Who wins the battle of the top 6? Whoever wins that battle wins the league. Period. And it's going to happen next year, and the year after, and the year after, and the year after. And there's no better team that's best equipped that can raise their game against their peers than Man City, in my opinion. I may be wrong, but in my opinion, that's it.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, because out of that point there, you said City won 26 points out of 30, where Liverpool won 19 out of 30. And that's 7-point difference.
Right. Think about last year. I think we won 24 out of 30 points.
Yeah.
Top 6.
And so, again, we've got 2 points better this season.
Right.
So your next point was I'll come back to that. Sorry, because that's moving on to the Champions League and the others. Ray, what about the Premier League review for you? And I know you didn't send any points through on this, but
it's just briefly. I mean, look, to get 98 points after getting 100 points, it's really, really difficult in that standard to basically to go again, and we've never gone again. We've done really well in previous seasons, winning the league with 89 points and whatever, and this next season we've fallen away, and it's taken us time to recover. So that for me was a pleasing thing about this campaign, that we managed to maintain that standard. Little bits and pieces aside, that Bowley goal, Mahrez's missed penalty, we could have got 100 points again. I mean, they saved me from some embarrassment, because I think at the first game of the season, I was talking to some Arsenal fans, and I said I didn't expect us to get 100 points. And if we did get 100 points, I would run almost naked around the Etihad or something. So, that was, that's the only good thing about losing against Newcastle, because we couldn't get 100 points after that. But, to maintain that standard, that's what's impressed me. And that's what makes me feel that next season we won't dip below 90 points. We'll still be in the 90 points, whether our focus is on the Champions League or whatever it is. We won't dip below 90 points. So anybody who wants to win the league is going to have to pull out something really special to get on par with City.
Well, I mean, 38 games, won 32, drawn 2, lost 4, 95 goals, 23 against, gives us a 72 plus 72 goal difference with 98 points. I think for me, I thought that was an interesting point, Karl, with the battle of the top six. I've not really looked at it from that perspective before. But what I found this season, unlike last season, was nobody could accuse City this season of saying, well, you're just walking away with the league. And it was just how impressive it was that, Liverpool play first. They go to the top of the league. We know the pressure ramps up again. Every single game is, for the last 4 or 5 months has just been, or 4 months has been, it's just, we have to win. There is no dropping of any points whatsoever, knowing that the chances are Liverpool could quite easily go unbeaten for a significant amount of games as well. So I just thought the consistency, and we didn't always play well. We scraped through, we battled.
Andy, think about this for one moment. Just think about this one. Let it sink in. If you draw a game, you're out.
Right.
So you have 14 games. We're not talking about playing Huddersfield or Sunderland. We're talking about Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham. If you drop 1 point away and home, you're out.
Yeah.
To go 14 games. Those 4 teams are in the Europa League final and Champions League final, and yet we didn't drop a point.
That's a really good point. I mean, it's that the way I was so impressed that we've done it differently to how we did it last year. Last year, because people said, "Oh, well, there was no challenges. You won the league in February." Yeah. Nobody. This season, it's been every single game we've had to win because Liverpool had gone ahead of us, and then we took that back, and then Liverpool. So that was why Liverpool were impressive as well, because they maintained that run right to the end. But I thought it was an incredible, different season and showed different characteristics of this particular team under Pep. So moving through to we'll go to the Champions League next. So Ray, what were your thoughts on the Champions League?
Champions League campaign was a bit sketchy for me. The group stage, we had what looked like a very easy group, and on paper it looks like we topped it. So we must have done well. But that masks some issues. We lost against Lyon in the first game at home. And, we weren't in that game, really. And we've seen our old boy Jason Denny having a decent game. And we flogged him off for about 7 million quid or something, whatever it was. It was not enough. We struggled away at Hoffenheim. And we could have so easily have lost that game. We struggled away at
Lyon
as well. Game. We struggled.
I was there, and we were 2-0. It was 2-0 down, and it was like.
I don't think we're 2-0 down. Yeah. I don't think we're 2-0.
Was it 2? I thought we were 1-0, 1-2. I thought we were 2-0. Were we not? Maybe not. I can't remember. But
we weren't good. We weren't good. That's what I do remember.
We were getting battered in midfield. Absolutely battered.
So, you know, and so for me, it wasn't the most inspiring of campaigns, but we won it. Schalke, okay, they were no match for us, but once again, away from home, we struggled against Schalke. Had a man sent off. That was Fabian Delph, I think. And we did struggle, and we got to win that. Sorry?
Otamendi.
Sorry. Yeah, I keep thinking of Delph because Delph.
Sorry, you just paused then and went off.
Delph is regular to get sent off. It was Otamendi, yeah. And then that Sani great goal. And the one thing we talked about it in the Premier League, the last 14 games, and they were like cup finals. And I think Khaldoon said something similar. They're cup finals, yeah. We've got to just go on and win every cup final. And we treated every league game as a cup final. We have to win it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the mistakes was when we looked at the Champions League away game, we didn't treat it as a cup final because we said the games that we could drop our level a little bit was the Spurs.
Talking about Spurs away.
Yeah, Spurs Champions League. And, you know, we did this to death at the time, thinking that was too defensive a formation. We were unlucky that we didn't have Bernardo Silva. Now, I think having Bernardo Silva instead of Riyad Mahrez changes the dynamic. Absolutely. It gives us more of an attacking threat.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we lacked that game. But having said that, I said it at the time, if Aguero scores, that tie, I 100% believe if Aguero scored that penalty, we'd have won the tie.
Yep.
We'd have won the tie because Spurs, you know, to come back from that away goal, it's huge.
Well, I think if he scores that penalty, we go on to win that game. I think.
Oh yeah.
Rather than the tie, I think we would have pushed on and maybe got another 1 or 2.
Well, Spurs would have had to come. Spurs would have had to come to us a little bit, and that's what we want. You know, they'd have had to change their setup and attackers and be a little bit more open. So it's disappointing that Pep changed his strategy, changed this idea that we're going to go to win. And if he treated it like a league game that we had to win, I think we'd have won that game comfortably. But you know, that's the third season on the bounce that Pep has struggled away from home in the Champions League in the knockout stages, which is a concern.
Okay, well, that was the talking point you wanted to go and talk about, Karl, and that was Aguero's penalty miss he put against Tottenham, and the strange lineup in the first leg was disappointing, and then the unlucky handball by Llorente and VAR 1 inch.
Yeah, let's not forget, even though we lost the first leg, the reality is Llorente used his hand, and we know we different angles. Now, why do you have VAR if VAR can't catch that? I don't understand. And then the VAR with the 1 inch, Aguero offside. You know, and last year we would have gone through, right? If that was the case. So, I mean, sometimes it's not meant to happen. Maybe we're not meant to win the 4 competition or the 5 competitions this year. Maybe that's some incentive for them next year. But it's gonna come. I have no doubt that at some point in time, whether with Pep Guardiola or without Pep, we're gonna win the Champions League. It's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time. Winning the treble, domestic treble, that's not guaranteed. I tell you, it's easier to win the Champions League than to win the treble.
Well, it's never been done, the domestic treble. So
right. And you got to remember, I mean, to win the Champions League, all you have to do is win 7 games.
That's always been my thought on any of them. The Champions League, the FA Cup, it's a cup competition, and anything can happen in one game that, you know, you get a bit of bad luck or you just don't turn up on the day, like maybe the penalty miss and at Spurs' new stadium, and we just didn't really do enough.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'd love us to win the Champions League. I love the Champions League. I've talked about it many times in some of my blogs. But when you think about things, I mean, you have to win 38 games. You have to win 38 games in the league. You have to win the FA Cup games, which is probably about 5 or 6. And you have to win the League Cup games, about 5 or 6. What's that? 45 games you have to win, right? And 2 finals versus 7 games from the Champions League. I mean, there is no comparison between the two. But I would like us to win the Champions League just to kind of shut people up and move them aside as a fantastic club.
Yeah, I think we won 32 games in the league and 11 in the FA Cup, League Cup. So it's 43 games there and 7 in the Champions League.
Fantastic. I mean, what do you say? Yeah, so.
I mean, we can't complain about the season we've had. There's no way we can. We're just sort of pointing out the sort of variance on the Champions League. Yeah, for me, obviously the Schalke 10-2 on aggregate. I mean, that was just, my lord. I mean, it made Europe stand up and go, our team's actually beat Schalke 10-2 on aggregate. I mean, that's frightening.
I was at the stadium that day. So I met with Ray early on in the day, and I mean, it was just a celebration. It was a celebration.
This is a round of 16 of the Champions League, and you win 10-2 on aggregate. I mean, it's like unheard of.
Could have been double figures as well.
Oh, easily. And then obviously for me, the Champions League, like I said before, the 4-4 quarterfinal was probably one of the best games I've ever witnessed live. I mean, it was just a phenomenal game. The 4-3 win at home, it was just amazing. And those calls, that much, we'll move on. Yeah, absolutely. Tiny little thing. That's why I always say you need a bit of luck in cup competitions. And that's why, for me, bread and butter is always the Premier League. So, moving on. League Cup. Come to you first, Karl. You've got the 9-0 bashing of Burton Albion.
I mean, after like 5, I kind of felt sorry for them, man. I was like, oh, come on, guys. But this is the nature of the beast that this guy has created, right? In years past, you score 4, you gotta take the foot off the gas. But this animal this guy's created is just ruthless. They could have scored 15, man.
Yeah. And well, I mean, we got a lot of grief in the British press over that. There was a lot of, it's disrespectful. They should have held back. They shouldn't be scoring 9. They shouldn't be doing this.
So when United used to bash people 5-0 and 4-0, was that disrespectful then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When Liverpool beat Cardiff or Huddersfield 5-0, was it disrespectful then?
Well, Liverpool beat Ipswich, was it 9-0?
Yeah.
We see through the bias.
Exactly. They praise Liverpool for that, for the showing to get 9-0, and for City to complain. Look, you beat what's in front of you, and I hope we beat some of the, the teams that have got the big mouths. Like we've done in the last 2 seasons. We beat Chelsea 6-0, we beat Liverpool 5-0, and I hope and there's a few more of them to make up for all those years that we took a pasting.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the League Cup results, we beat Oxford 3-0, Fulham 2-0, Leicester went to penalties that we won 3-1, Burton 9-0 and 1-0, and then the final 4-3 on penalties. Ray, we were there. What was your thoughts on the penalty shootout at Wembley?
Penalty shootout was good. The penalty shootout basically made up for the rest of the game, because the rest of the game was,
it was rubbish.
It wasn't good. No. It wasn't a good spectacle. And then was it Raz's last penalty in the roof?
And we had the issue with Kepa.
Yeah, Kepa refusing to go off. Yeah, but look. For what we've done in the tournament, we deserve the win. And Chelsea didn't do anything in that final to deserve it.
No.
And
they played 5-4-1. 5-4-1, what they played, and it was just boring. I mean,
yeah. So we did what mattered, and our goalie makes a save, and we get through and we win. So fully deserved, and we had a good time around London partying after that game.
Well, it was obviously, like you mentioned there, it was Sterling stepping up, and that had just come at the time when everything had kicked off with the Chelsea and the racism rows, and for him to step up and smash it from the underside of the crossbar, I mean, we all just went crazy. Of all the players we wanted to score, the winner, it was Raza. So, that was our sort of first big success. Forget the Community Shield, but that was one trophy in the bag. And then we move on to the FA Cup. Now, the FA Cup, I'll give you the results. Rotherham 7-0, Burnley 5-0, Newport County 4-1, Swansea 3-2, Brighton 1-0, and obviously Watford 6-0. What were your thoughts, Karl, on the FA Cup run?
So that's 26 goals, Andy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
26 goals in 6 games.
Right. So, I mean, people talk about the fixtures that we had. They were easy fixtures. But then the final, think about the final, right? So this is the Watford team that everybody talked about having a great season, which they did. Watford team that had Troy Deeney was going to bash our centre backs. And I mean, the second half was just a masterclass, man. I mean, the movement, the passing, the speed, counter-attacking. Kevin De Bruyne was just, talk about a game for people like us to enjoy. It was great, and it was the cherry on the treble cake, right? It was the top of the tree, and I think the players really wanted to win that game and win the treble to demonstrate that, look, yes, we didn't go through in the Champions League, but we are the kings of England.
Well, I think Vinny said it, didn't he, after we won the league at Brighton. He said, it's focus now. We've got to do it. We're desperate to win this FA Cup. I mean, I think all the players just realised, look, we need to take this seriously. It's a big game. We need to put on a performance for the fans. And more importantly, we need to win that trophy and get that treble. Ray, what were your thoughts on the FA Cup in general and obviously the Watford 6-0?
Yeah, well, the FA Cup in general, you can argue, like people have said, we had easy games, easy teams. But you got to beat them. You still got to go out there and beat them, you know. There's plenty of banana skins. Yes, you can argue we were lucky against Swansea.
Yeah,
we're very lucky.
Yeah.
You know, Newport gave us a good game. So it was, you know, it was not easy. And one of the reasons I put in one of my best games is that 6-0 against Watford as my best games of the season, because it was one of the friendliest, nicest atmospheres at a game I've been to ever. You know, just about at the top level. You know, the fact that the Watford fans were 5-0 down with 10 minutes to go, and they got the flags out and started waving, and you see a sea of red and yellow at the other end, and then the City fans got up and give them a standing ovation as well. We were applauding for ages, and then got our flags out as well and started eventually singing some City songs. But the Watford fans kept going for 10 minutes. So it was an incredible performance to beat them 6-0, and once again we could have scored 10. You know,
easily.
We were rampant at that stage, and we dismantled a team that looked like, you know, I think they can challenge for the top 6 next season. I honestly do. If you know the way United are going, there is going to be somebody that's going to step out of the pack, whether it's Wolves or Watford or West Ham or Everton. But Watford have got some really good players, and if they can keep them there, add 1 or 2 more, there'll be a real challenge. And for us to smash them 6-0, man, it was an unbelievable way to finish the season.
Obviously, the big turning point in the game came pretty early on, after about 15, 17 minutes, when one-on-one with Edison.
I mean, it was even quicker than that. It was about 6 or 7 minutes.
Was it? I can't remember. And that save that Edison made was, you know, because they score that, suddenly their backs are up, and gives them that confidence. Yeah. And that's what you get in these cup competitions.
Yeah.
It's a moment. It is a moment. A moment decides the game. And you know, and I think that moment was decided not because of Edison's brilliance at making saves, but his starting position and how quick he was to get off that line. And by the time Pereira got there, he was on him, and he panicked and he bottled it. You know, he did a Liverpool, he bottled it, and he just hit it straight at the keeper. Look, if he'd hit it 1 yard either side of him, I think it was a goal. But the panic and the moment got to him. And from then we didn't look. From then on, really, we didn't look back.
I mean, I still think that even if they had scored a goal, would have stepped it up 2 or 3 years.
I think what you don't want to do in cup finals is give the opposition any hope. I mean, I'm always screaming, give them nothing, give them absolutely nothing. Don't give them any sort of bit of motivation, bit of confidence. Give them absolutely nothing, because we've seen in cup finals how teams can suddenly. We've seen it in the Champions League semi-finals. Yep. Give Liverpool against Barca, Spurs against Ajax. Give them a sniff.
Yep.
And suddenly games can suddenly change. But I agree.
I don't mind giving them. I wanted to give them some after 80 minutes when we were 5 or 6.
I didn't. No, I didn't.
All right.
No, I don't want to give any of them anything. Nothing. Give them absolutely nothing. But yeah, I was just at the end. I was just thinking, one more.
Yeah.
One more, and then Stones was put through, and it was like, oh my God, what are you doing? Of all the players you didn't want 5 yards from goal, it was John Stones. But anyway, that's.
What was he doing up there anyway? What was he doing up there?
I think I can't remember where it come from, a free kick or something, then came back out, and he was still up there when the
Well, the thing was, we didn't need many defenders.
Well, he was playing in like that midfield role anyway. So, but anyway, that still equaled Berry's record from like 1893 or
1903.
1903 was it? There you go.
Right.
So 116 years, that wasn't since somebody's scored 6-0 in an FA Cup final. So, yeah, that obviously was a wonderful moment with the Premier League and everything else. What I'd like to do now is just go through player ratings and talk about the players. And I know that Karl, you've not sent me through player ratings, but Ray has. So what we'll do is we'll start off with Ray's, ask you yours, and then I'll give mine. These are out of 10. Okay, so Ray, Edison, you started off and you gave him for the season a 7.5. Karl?
No.
I'll give him an 8. I think Edison has been brilliant this season. Apart from the 2 penalties that he kind of caused, but I'll give him an 8. Yeah.
I gave him an 8. Any reason why 7.5? I thought that was a bit cheap.
Not a bit cheap. I think
he's been brilliant this season.
I don't think he's had a lot to do, in all honesty. I don't think he's had too much to do.
He's made some great saves.
He's made some good saves. He let a dribbler in against Spurs, which I think he should have stopped. I don't think he has shown us more than he did the previous season. The previous season, he was a revelation. Yes, he's got an assist this season, but in terms of, yes, the team's done really, really well, but on an individual level, I don't think he's had that much to do. So how can you give somebody that's my opinion, how can you give him a lot of marks when he's not really had enough to do?
I think, Ray, the challenge, we have to look at Edison differently than we look at other goalkeepers. Yeah. I don't think we look at him like a normal goalkeeper. Think of him as an outfield player who can keep in goal. Yeah. And when you think about that, I think it changed the perspective of how we look at Edison. Edison is perhaps, for me, the best goalkeeper probably in England and one of the best in the world. The way he opens up the attack by passing the ball through and creating space. Not many goalkeepers can do that, man. That's the way I look at him. So, and that's why I kind of gave him the 8. So I look at him differently from other goalkeepers and what they do.
Me too. I gave him an 8. So Ray 7.5. Karl and me give him an 8. Moving on to Karl Walker. Ray, you gave him a 7.
Yeah.
Karl?
I would agree 7. I would agree with Ray 7.
I think 7's all round because I agree as well. I think Walker this season has had some absolutely brilliant games, but he's had some absolute stinkers. I mean, he got dropped at one point, but thankfully came back and got his place back in the team. But yeah, he's had an in and out season. It's been nowhere near as good as last season. But I don't think many people will give him much more than a 7. But moving on, Vinny Company, Ray, you give him 8.5. Karl?
I'll give him 8.5 too. I think he's been brilliant when he showed up. Injuries have been an issue with him, but 8.5, yeah, I'll give him 8.5.
I'll go with that. I'll go with 8.5. I mean, right at the business end of the season. Prior to that, you might have given him a 7 or something like that, 6 or a 7. But, for what he's done in the last 4 or 5 games, it's just been phenomenal. John Stones, Ray, you gave him a 7.5.
Yeah. I mean, he's not played enough, but that goal line clearance it's worth plenty.
Absolutely.
So Vinny should get a 10 then for that goal. What about you? What are your thoughts, Karl?
Yeah, 7.5. I thought he started the season really, really well, and then he kind of dropped off. I don't know what would happen, but yeah, 7.5 is accurate, in my opinion.
I'll go with that. Emerick Laporte, Ray, you gave him an 8.5.
Yeah, he's been generally very, very good, classy, good passer of the ball, knows what he's doing. Couple of mistakes towards the end of the season, which cost him a little bit, cost City a little bit as well. But I think 8.5, he's one of our better players this season.
Karl?
Yeah, 8.5. I think I would have given him a 9, but I think those two mistakes against Tottenham in the Champions League cost him the 9. So I would give him an 8.5. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Zinchenko, Ray, you gave him a 7.5.
Yeah. Look, as a fill-in left back, you'd give him more, but he was playing a left back. That was his slot for the season. So I'm going to give that based on his performances this season as left back. And as we've always said, he's got every single game one big mistake in him, which can catch us out. But on the other hand, he's always won. So
yeah,
he's always played on a winning team. So he's never lost with City. So regardless of the fact that he makes mistakes, I think he's getting better, but he'll never be a world-class left back.
Not for me, Karl.
I'll give him the same.
Reasonable.
7.5.
Yeah. Okay. I gave him a 7. I'll be honest, because I have been a bit critical of him this season. Only giving my opinion and tried to be objective with my comments on him. Going forward, I think he does well. Defensively, he's had some great games, but I've watched him live on numerous occasions where he's had some stinkers. Defensively, positionally aware at that back post, completely switched off. Now, we know he's not a natural left back. He's converted the role, and Delph did really well last year, but he still made the same mistakes that Zinchenko's making this. So there's something in that, converting a left midfielder into a left back. They just don't have that positional awareness sometimes. And so
his best game was against Chelsea at home, the 6-0.
Yeah, he was very, very good.
Fantastic,
yeah, he was. So we'll see next season where he's going to be, and if we do get another left back in and whatever else. But he's certainly good cover without a shadow of a doubt. Right, this confuses me. Ray, Mendy, you've given him an 8.
Oh yeah, he's not played much. Okay,
how does he get an 8 then?
He gets an 8. He gets an 8 because of you kept all season long, Andy's been banging on that Mendy's played about 6 games and he's got 5 assists, which is more than all these Liverpool players and Arsenal players and Man United. And he's been banging on, he's been drumming it in.
Yeah.
And so, I'm going to give Mendy an 8 because he gives us, from what we've seen, because he gives us that extra dimension. He gives us something really exciting on the left. 5 assists in about 6 or 7 games. At the start of the season, okay, he got injured and he didn't contribute as much after that. But, I'm just looking forward to next season. I hope the guy's fit and firing and raring to go and focused on football, because if he can put an 8 throughout the whole season, not just 6 or 7 games, it's going to be a new dimension to this City side.
Well, he certainly stayed in Barcelona, so he obviously didn't go to the parade. He wasn't around. He stayed in Barcelona with Dr. Kuga to continue his rehabilitation. And they're saying that it looks like this time they may have resolved the injury. And I can only really hope they do, because, like I said, when he plays, is superb, absolutely superb. But Karl, what are your thoughts on Mendy?
I'm giving 7.5. But Andy, we've not lost a game that Mendy started in. We've not lost one game, even though they're little games. We've not lost one game. And
but we've only lost 6 games in 2 seasons.
And Benjamin, if you want to watch Benjamin Mendy, watch the game at Anfield. He was absolutely superb defensively. Yeah. So he can be disciplined, can be focused. I think you have one of the best left backs in the country.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I mean, I think he's superb, and his crossing range and passing is absolutely incredible. I'll give him a 7. I can't give him an 8 when I've given a 7.5, but for me, his 6 performances definitely were worthy of an 8. Danilo, 7.5. Quickly, Ray.
Yep, he never let us down. I think he had one bad game. Played left back, he played right back, he played centre back, he played defensive midfielder. Very, very useful, versatile, flexible player. I hope he doesn't leave.
Yeah, 7 for me, consistent all the way through.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7.5. Thought he was impressive in a couple of sub appearances. He came on into midfield and at right back and never let us down. I thought he was great, and I agree with you, Ray. We sometimes lose sight of the fact that we need squad players. Now, whether he's happy to be a squad player or he wants more will determine whether he stays or he goes. And I hope he stays, because when you're fighting on four fronts, you need players like your Gundowans and your Danilos to be happy to be squad players and come in and fill in. So he could be a big loss if he goes, for me. But, there's not a lot we can do. If he wants more game time, then he's probably going to have to move on. Moving on to Nicholas Otamendi, he gave us 7.5.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't get a lot of game time after he kicked up a bit of a stink last third of the season. He did get some game times. He didn't let us down, generally. The only time was, as Karl reminds us, that Champions League game where he got sent off. But I think he played another decent season at the back for when he did play.
Yeah, I would give him the same 7.5. I think it was just, again, consistent all the way through.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I don't think he's let us down at all. I thought he's, apart from that one, red card, he's always been solid, absolutely solid at the back. And he's another one that I'm thinking, I'd love him to stay as a rotational player, whether he'll stay and he wants more game time. And it's the same as Danilo. If he wants games, he's probably not going to get them next season, so he might need to move on. But always solid, the general. Fernandinho, Ray, you gave him an 8.
Yeah, I think his importance was obvious when he wasn't there. We struggled in some games, the games we lost. I think he was missing for a couple. And towards the end of the season when he was injured, we really missed having his presence there. Gundogan performs a different function. And obviously the fans are, we've been asking for a season. We need another player in his position to help him and play some games for him. So he's a really, really important part of our team, even at 34 years of age.
Yeah. Karl?
8 for me. Again, being consistent. We need him, the way he plays, like our system. I think 8 is a fair assessment for Fernandinho.
Gets an 8 from me for everything you've said. Gundogan, Ray, you gave him an 8.
Yeah, I was torn between an 8 and 8.5 because he's played some really good games. But also, he's played a couple of duff ones where he's not been given the space and time. And we said this time and time again. Yeah. Give him space and time. He's a world beater. He'll set a lot up. But press him. I go back to that Swansea game where he was just left standing.
Yeah.
When they scored, he was too slow. He looked like very laboured. And when players don't give him space and time, he's very ineffective, in my opinion.
Well, one of his weak points is his tackling.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing with a Fernandinho, whether you say, it's clever and what Fernandinho does, or whether it's aggressive, Gundogan just doesn't. He goes in 50-50s, and you think that's gone from a 60-40 in your favour to a 30-70 in the other, the way you've gone into that tackle.
Right. And then I think I have an explanation for that. I think that I watched him at Dortmund, and he used to tackle a lot in that defensive midfield. I think the injury that he had, that basketball injury he had on his knee, has made him reticent to get into tackles and get injured again. So that may be the explanation. But I give him an 8.5. I think he's been phenomenal in that role he's been asked to play for Fernandinho.
Well, I would have given him an 8, but I agree. I'm giving him an 8.5 because I think the way he's filled in for Fernandinho, I've been highly impressed with what he's done, even though I agree with everything Ray said. You look at when Walker came out with the ball, Maguire came out with the ball, and that tackle, it just sort of summed up Gundogan from a tackling perspective. It was like, oh my God, my 6-year-old kid would go in a bit harder than that, but maybe for the reasons why you said. So moving on to Kevin De Bruyne, Ray, 8.5, and we'll go through these pretty quickly. 8.5 for Kevin. 8.5.
I mean, he came back from injury. He didn't play a lot. He came back from injury, and he wasn't the same KDB because he wasn't fully fit. And there was something gnawing at him. Yeah. But towards the end of that coming back, we suddenly saw a game or two where he was unbelievable again, unplayable. And then he got injured again. And then he came back. And we saw at the end of the season again how immense he is. I mean, he was putting out, 10 out of 10 performance. He's got in the FA Cup final, he got the Man of the Match award, even though he came on after 55 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and once again, it just shows us what is possible next season, that he's hardly played this season. We still banged in 98 points. And overall, on the performances that he put in, he put in some 10 out of 10 performances. So I think 8.5 is decent.
Okay, Karl.
8.5. Kevin De Bruyne against Watford is the Kevin De Bruyne that we know. The space finder, the Ramdeuter. He is just an amazing player. Can't wait till next season.
Same for me, 8.5. David Silva, Ray, 8.5.
I give David Silva an 8.5, even though some people have criticised him in the second half of the season. First half of the season, he was tremendous. You know, he was playing more games than he probably should or expected because of KDB's injury and then Fernandinho's injury. The first 6 months of the season, the bald David Silva, he was worth it. Okay, he dropped off a bit in the second half of the season. That hair was slowing him down. That extra hair, it affected his wind resistance or whatever, and wasn't as good. He's still a class player.
Karl?
Give me back the bald David Silva, and I give him an 8.5. the one with the hair, I give him a 7.5.
Yeah. Well, he gets an 8.5 from me because even though he wasn't in the second half of the season, we might look at him and think he wasn't as quick, dynamic. He's the one player, I've always said it, that Pep trusts the system. He's the one that keeps things moving. He understands Pep, what he wants, and he's the one that can slow the pace down, raise it, etc. So, yeah, brilliant. Very quickly, we've got quite a few to go through, so just very quickly. Phil Foden, you gave it a 7 and 7.
Yeah, he showed us glimpses of what he can do. Want to see it next season.
7.5. Agreed.
I agree. And no more on that. Bernardo Silva.
Player of the season. I gave him a 9. Player of the season for me. First half of the season, incredible. He went through a little bit of a dip, but he was also injured again for the Spurs Champions League away. And then towards the end of the season, once again, he's been top dog. And, it was, do you give him a 9.5? I'll save the 9.5 for next season. And hopefully someone will get that. But 9 is very good from me.
Karl?
Yeah, 9 for me. And the engine of the midfield, an engine of the team, 9. He was just phenomenal this year. From day one in Miami, I watched him in Miami myself. I went down there and he was just amazing against Bayern Munich. So, yep.
He gets full scores from me. He gets a 10.
Don't blame you, man.
He gets an absolute 10. I think he's proved me wrong. Last season, early on in the season, last year, I sort of said he needs to be doing more. He's not doing enough, and I'm not sure. And this season, he's completely proved me wrong. And I think he's just been phenomenal. So he gets a big 10 from me. Riyad Mahrez.
I give Mahrez a 7.
You gave him a 7, you did.
Give him a 7 because, he needs to do more. He was lucky that Sane fell out of favour, and so he got some more game time than I think he deserved. He was too negative for me, didn't take enough risks. But we saw at the end of the season, after missing a lot of games in the second half of the season, Pep trusted him in the last game against Brighton in the FA Cup final. And I hope with the full pre-season behind him, he comes back far, far better next season.
So with Mahrez, I used to scratch my head with Mahrez, but I think I know what the issue is. Mahrez is really not a wide player. Mahrez is more of a central kind of player. He watched the games against Leicester, he played centrally. Most of his goals all came from the middle center. A game against Watford, the goal against Watford, the goal against, I think, was Huddersfield, all from that central area. He's really not a wide player, and so he struggles on the right-hand side. He has to always cut back in. But play him centrally, and you have gold. So I give him a 7.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to go into too much on Mahrez. I've already done Mahrez to death this season. I personally just don't think. I think he knows one position to play in. That is where you said in that sort of number 8 role, 10 role, wherever you want to play. I don't think he's intelligent enough to play as a winger. I really don't. I don't think he's got that footballing intelligence. Wonderful first touch, the most amazing first touch, but is he going to get in that? Is he going to get in that 10 role or somewhere around there next season to be able to show how good he actually can be? I'm not too sure, so he gets a 7. Raheem Sterling, 8.5.
Yeah, cracking season. Another cracking season. Lots of goals, lots of assists. Stepped up to the plate quite a few games. Can still do with scoring a few more, but he gets into positions that others don't. He comes in, he was in the cup final when Bernardo just put a blind ball across the box, a 6-yard box, and Raheem Sterling knew where to be, and he was there and tapped it in. So he gets a lot of tap-ins. People take a pop at him for the tap-ins, but he's making the right runs at the right time. Fantastic player. 8.5. He did run Virgil van Dijk very close for Player of the Season. And if he can continue progressing, he's going to run. Everybody will have to beat him to get Player of the Season next year.
8.5 for me. Pep, please play Raheem on the right-hand side. Please don't play him on the left-hand side. Because when he plays on the right-hand side, he gets goals. Yeah. For example, Watford, right? Play him on the right-hand side. Figure out who to play on the left-hand side, whether it's Sané or maybe João Felix or whoever else, or Jesus. Play Raheem on the right.
He gets a 9.5 from me. I think he's had an amazing season. Absolutely incredible season. And he's pushed Bernardo for me right to the end. I just couldn't go away from Bernardo as Player of the Season. But I think he's been superb. Attitude-wise, forget everything that he's done off the pitch, which is immense. What he's done on the pitch is just phenomenal. Consistently been brilliant. Sergio Aguero, Ray, you gave him an 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's worked his socks off this season. He's worked his socks off. He scored, was it 21 goals, something like that, in league goals. I think I wanted a few more from him. And, you know, if you're going to take penalties, Serge, you got to score.
Yep. Yeah, 8 for me as well. 8 for me.
8 from me as well for all those reasons. It's his penalties. It's like, you know, at least when we had Yaya, you go, right, this is 1-0. But with Aguero these days, you're going, I'm really not sure.
Gundogan's our best penalty taker, though.
Gundogan's very good. I'm surprised Kevin De Bruyne didn't step up and take him as well. Leroy Sané, you gave him a 7.
Yeah, he had a good start to the season. I mean, I think he ended the season with 10 goals and 10 assists, so still pretty decent numbers. Yeah. But he let himself down second half of the season. You know, Pep said, we've told him what he needs to do to start games. And obviously he wasn't doing it the way Pep wanted because he wasn't starting games. I think, you know, there are rumours that he obviously doesn't track back as much as he should, and he tries a little bit too much. Which, you know, is giving the other team the ball in good positions. So, you know, I hope he stays. I hope he sorts himself out. And, you know, he's a 9 out of 10 guy. That's where he should be. He should be, you know, by now, next season.
Should be where Sterling is now.
Yeah, he should be at the same level as Sterling because he was last season at the same level as Sterling. He should be at the same level as Sterling now. And in next year, he should have been challenging for the Ballon d'Or. Yeah. Honestly, he should have been challenging. He should have been looking for 20 league goals next season and frightening the pants off everybody. And
he hasn't progressed this season.
No,
he's regressed, I think.
Yeah,
7.5 for me. Maybe that Bayern Munich is on his mind. Hopefully not. But I don't know what's going on with Leroy. But he needs to step up and go back to his best.
Well, I'll give him a 7. Jesus, Ray, you gave him a 7.5.
Yeah, consistently worked hard. You could see he was going through some bad patches where he was struggling a bit. And then he came good again. You know, he started the FA Cup final, scored a couple of goals. You know, I honestly don't think he's going to be as good as Sergio Aguero. But he's still, 22 years old? He's still got plenty of time to keep on developing. And I think the more he relaxes and gets used to England, you know, the more time he spends here, the better he'll get. So yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful for another good season next season.
Yeah, 7.5 for me. I thought he was consistent again when he came on to play, and I like to see him play on the left side and Aguero as a striker and see what happens.
Yeah,
yeah.
And he has played a couple of times there, but not enough. And you know, if Sané's not being trusted, it'd be nice to have seen him play a little bit more because of his work rate. You know, he'll definitely track back and he'll do everything he can. And I thought his performance against Watford was absolutely superb. You know, his effort, his tackling. I mean, that header that he, you know, and
yeah.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, 7.5. Muric, you gave him a 7. Not a lot. I mean, there was
not a lot, but I mean, he was our cup keeper, and we won 2 cups. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
7 for me.
Yeah, same for me. Delph, you gave us 6.5. This is our last player.
Yeah, I think he dropped off, Delph. You know, and to the stage where Pep wouldn't play him.
Yep.
So he's not played a lot. You know, that sending off he got, that didn't help him. Sending off for nothing, for you know, stupidity. One way to put it.
I think he admitted himself that he lost his head. And
he's you know, he's same as Zinchenko. He's always got a mistake in him at left back. But Zinchenko's gone ahead of him now, and Delph. The rumours are that he'll be sold this summer. We'll wait to see. He's still a useful player to have, but when you honestly look at it, the way I look at it, we've got Mendy, we've got Zinchenko, and even Danilo. I'd have those three in front of Fabian Delph. So what's left for Delph?
Yeah, for me, Delph, I would give him a 6. I think he's too expensive in terms of his errors at the back. Just too expensive. Anytime he's on, something happens. Against Tottenham, against Swansea, you name it, something happens. So this season, 6.
Yeah, 6 from me. I mean, I feel sorry for him because he was so good last season to play doing what Zinchenko did this season. I just think he's had so many numerous injuries. He's never got a run of games, and whenever he's played to prove himself, like you said, he's made some absolute proper serious errors. And yeah, I think he's gone. I think he's a goner. I don't think it's a shame. I don't think he'll be in next season. But right, finally, we've got just a couple of questions. Last thing. I think we know. Well, mind you, saying this, it's player of the season. But Karl, coming to you first, you said Bernardo and Raheem Sterling, you can't decide.
I think it has to be Bernardo for me now. Thinking about the work rate, the energy, the hunger. From day one, I went to Miami to watch him against Bayern Munich. The same Bernardo you saw last week is the same one I saw last July. Energy, hard work, skill, passing, moving. Great player.
I think that was the game that Pep turned around and said when he saw him in that game, and he went, he's going to be some player.
I mean, my wife and I were there, and it was just amazing. It was just phenomenal to watch this guy dominate the game. It was really good.
He's absolutely adored by City fans. Trust me. I mean, you've seen it and when you've been over, but City fans absolutely adore him. They've taken him straight to the hearts. Ray, you said...
I can't argue with that. There's not much else I can say. Bernardo Silva.
He got a 10 from me, so I mean, he's been absolutely phenomenal and really nice guy. Goal of the season, Karl. You've got this is interesting. Differently, you put İlkay Gundogan's third goal versus United after 44 passes. Yeah. Everyone touched the ball, including Edison. The perfect Guardiola goal.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about the company goal, but
I'm all about this.
The Guardiola system. Was he trying to? 44 passes against Man United, and then with the last touch being İlkay. For me, that was a perfect team goal. That's why I picked that goal instead. For me, it was the perfect goal.
It wasn't even one that I was even thinking about, and then when I read it, I thought, "Bloody hell, yeah, that was a cracking goal." I forgot all about that. Ray,
I agree with
what Vinny's.
Yeah, I've gone with Vinny's. I agree with what Karl said. As a team goal, that was the goal. But for emotion, for pure raw emotion. That's coming from within your body and letting loose Vinny companies, because you couldn't believe the emotions that are outpoured on that goal. It's got to be one of the biggest goals ever seen at the Etihad.
I remember obviously now reading yours, the İlkay goal. I've still got to go for Vinny's though, because I was directly right behind it, and when he hit it, I've never felt anything where there was silence. And there was a pause even after it had gone in, and he run after the. He just got that, and then it just went absolutely crazy. And I'm watching back on there, going, "Oh my god!" So Vinny, obviously with Vinny leaving and everything else, it's. I'm gonna have to go with Ray's on this one as well. I'm going Vinny companies. Right, finally. What we'll do is we'll leave the possible ins and outs because we're going to do a transfer video next week. So, plus there's quite a lot of good points in here. So maybe we'll leave that for next week. Final question is all about our manager, and that is Pep Guardiola. So, Karl, over to you. You said to me the best coach in the world, and then you gave me a couple of quotes from my favourite journalist, which is Martin Samuel. So I don't know whether that's in front of you or you want me to read it out.
Andy, read it. Andy, you can read it. Andy.
Okay. These are the quotes that Martin Samuel said. Guardiola has changed the very concept of winning in the English game. He's changed how we view results, and he has done it without some of his best players. This season in particular, players it was really felt and players who really felt would be important. The only reason a second club is chasing a points total in the high 90s is because City have demanded that is the standard required to win the league. It won't always be this way. It can't be. But if the levels at the top of the Premier League are better than ever and results in Europe suggest that this is the case, Guardiola drove that change and he hasn't even got the best team this season.
Yeah,
that was Martin Samuel. Yeah. So what were your thoughts on that? I remember reading that.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that quote, I just said, this is exactly the coach that we have. This is a spot-on assessment of our manager. And I can't say anything more. He said it all. Pep has completely changed the way we view football in England. And the standards are absolutely so high that you have to hit the high 90s to even be considered to win. Leicester got an 81. So, yeah. I mean, I'm just glad that we have him for the time being. We should enjoy every single moment, win, lose, or draw, with this manager, because we don't know when next is going to happen again.
Absolutely. Ray, you gave him an 8.5. What?
Yeah, mate, the standards are so high now. You know, that he set himself. 8.5, yeah.
Treble winning quad is a formidable 8.5.
8.5, mate. 8.5.
Okay.
Because
why 8.5?
My expectations are now that are a little bit higher. You know, that I think that game against Spurs was a big thing, because it's the way he didn't go with his normal way. And I think he gave them not too much respect, but as other people said, he's thought about what we've done away in the Champions League. And we got beaten now 3 times with Pep in the Champions League away in the knockout stages. And 2 of them were quite bad. So that's why I'm not going to give him a 9.5 or a 10 or whatever. Because the standard he set the standard himself. So he's got to, so I'm going to compare him against his standard. And, we didn't get to the same heights in terms of, we got beat 4 times in the league. And I want us to I want him to be able to change those games. The way we got beat by, where we were winning against Leicester and Newcastle and Palace, and then they came back and they were not in those games. So that's what I think he has to work. We were winning those games and looked comfortable, and it turns around and we never really got back into them. So that's, for me, it's a blot on his copybook, because, you can say, how can you say that? The guy's almost got 100 points.
Yeah.
But he demands excellence from his players, from himself, from his staff. So why can't we, as fans, demand that excellence as well? And I want him, I don't want us to be knocked out in the quarterfinals because of mistakes. I want someone to have to beat us. I don't want us to lose. I want someone to play really well. And as I said, if Liverpool had won the league this season, I'd have doffed my hat and said, well done, because you've beaten us. I don't want to lose. I want someone to beat us.
Well, and isn't it a far cry being a Man City fan when we're the formidables this season and we're complaining about how no. But I mean, I'm saying we're being critiquing about losing 4 games and going out of a cup competition when we just won 4 trophies. Yeah. And
we demand more.
Can you imagine the days of Stuart Pearce and others? I mean, we've now got the best coach in world football, so maybe we're being a little bit selfish as well. But
but he's pushing it.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying maybe we as a fan base now, we're seeing such excellence that it is gonna. And I think we need to prepare ourselves that I don't think we can always keep hitting those heights. There's only so much you can do, and I just, unless we win every single game of the season, we're gonna be somewhere in that 90-point bracket, and that still might be enough next season to win the league. But listen, I just want to say a massive thank you to Karl for being on our channel today. Thanks, Ray, for your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the season review. We could have spent hours talking about everything in detail, but you'd get bored and we'd get bored and things like that. But Listen, we'll be back next week with a full review of the ins and outs and transfer news and things like that. But anyway, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV. Thank you. Don't forget, subscribe, click notification, give it a thumbs up, comment below the video. And if there's anything in particular you think we've missed and you want to talk about, let us know below this. But once again, Karl, have a wonderful day and thank you for coming on. I know it's early for you out there. Ray, cheers, mate. And we'll see you soon. Take care.